Welcome to Husband Talking. Explore riveting tales of infidelity with us. Please subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's begin.
The worst day of my life started out pretty well. I got up at 7:00 and did my morning workout. After lifting weights, I ran 3 miles. The fog was thick, and I was the only one on the trail. After my run, I cooled down by alternating between jogging and walking for another mile. When I got home and showered, my wife, Chloe, had my muffin and a glass of orange juice ready for me. I kissed her and gave her a hug while gulping down the juice. She complained about me wrinkling her clothes and messing up her makeup, but she eventually melted into my embrace. She still made my heart race every time I saw her. 30, she was more beautiful than ever. Her dark brown hair was now almost black and reached down to her waist. She had filled out nicely from the slender girl I took to prom back in high school. She was still a little over 5 feet tall but proved that dynamite comes in small packages. She was a rising star at her design firm and was hitting her stride after the birth of our 2 boys. She had attracted a lot of attention on some high-profile corporate accounts, and they were talking about making her a partner. She was making almost as much as I was, and I was doing quite well. I had just been promoted for the 4th time and was the head of the architectural department at a large firm. I kissed her again, grabbed my briefcase and muffin, and headed out the door. "Have a great day, beautiful," I waved. She blew me a kiss as she started getting the boys ready for school. She went to work an hour after I did, and I had bedtime duty. My other baby was in the garage. I had only owned her for about 5 months. She was a deep blue Toyota Mustang. I've been driving Mustangs since I was 16. My dad helped me buy a 1969 RT that's still parked under the shed. I get it out occasionally and drive it just to hear the roar of the big Hemi through those Borla pipes. It's not as quick as the new Challenger, but I love hearing the Mustang and Camaro owners brag about their toys. Just 2 days before, one of the engineers was bragging about his new Chevrolet Camaro with over 480 horsepower, trying to impress Ava in the next office. I smiled at the thought of my Challenger's 690 horsepower. I had a great day at work and finished the power plant design our team was working on by early afternoon, so I took the rest of the day off. I washed my car. It was a beautiful afternoon, and I could see my reflection in the polish when I put her back in the garage. Chloe texted me, saying she'd be a bit late because she was in a meeting and would be home around 5:15. At 4:00, I was in the kitchen baking chocolate chip cookies. I had 2 trays done and a plate set on the counter when I heard the door open and 2 little voices coming through the living room. My boys, Lucas and Noah, were home. They're identical twins and the cutest little bundles of joy. They have their mom's hair, freckles, and big brown eyes, but they have my complexion. Chloe can tan but am naturally olive-skinned, and they got my skin tone. It contrasts with their hair and eyes, making them even more striking. At 8 years old, they were just adorable. They fought like cats, but only with each other. They were sweet as honey with me and never allowed anyone to say anything bad about the other. Chloe had a hard time dealing with them, though. They loved her deeply, but whenever she corrected one, the other would always take his brother's side, and they could argue as fiercely as their mother. They outdid each other telling me about their day. School had just started a week ago, and they loved their new teacher, Miss Taylor. She was new to the district, and I had yet to meet her, but she certainly made an impression on my boys. I fed them cookies and glasses of milk while listening to them with a big grin on my face. They were my angels and could do no wrong. After they each ate 3 cookies, they went upstairs to do their homework, which was my rule homework right after school, so we had the rest of the evening free. I took the last tray of cookies out of the oven and put them on the platter when I heard Noah call me. I started up the stairs, but my phone vibrating distracted me. I took it out and saw a text from an unfamiliar number. "You were one hot babe today. Can't wait until tomorrow afternoon." While I appreciated the compliment, I had no idea who would send me such a text since I had no plans other than work. I figured someone punched in the wrong number and decided to play along. "Thanks, babe," I replied. "Remind me again about the time and place." The response came quickly. "You using Liam's phone? Make sure you delete this. Can't have Liam getting suspicious too soon. Our place, of course." I froze halfway into the boys' doorway. "My name is Liam, and my phone number ends in 9. Chloe's ends in 8, and the boys' end in 7 and 6. Someone made a big mistake. I was numb, unable to move. Lucas looked up at me. Daddy, we need help with these math problems. What's wrong, Daddy? Both boys stood up and stared at me, looking shocked. I shook off the cobwebs. Nothing, boys. Just some bad news, but nothing to worry about. Let me see that math. 5 minutes later, I heard the garage door open. Chloe was home. I heard her walking around, and in a minute, she poked her head in. What's for dinner? She asked. Hey, sweethearts. The boys bounced up to hug her, then returned to their homework. Chloe came over and put her arms around my neck from behind, nibbling on my ear. I'm gonna grab a quick shower, she said. We finished the math, and I asked the boys if they wanted to go out to Delicious Pizzeria. They were all over it, and by the time they were dressed in shorts and t-shirts, I was waiting in the car. Isn't Mom coming? Lucas asked. She had a long day. Let her rest. We'll turn off our phones and have a boys' night out. Okay? They agreed, and we had a great time. I forgot to turn my phone off, and it vibrated a dozen times, but I ignored it, diving back into the games and pizza. We got home at 10:00, and Chloe was asleep on the sofa with her phone in her hand. I held my finger to my lips, and we tiptoed upstairs. They got in bed, and I went to the spare bedroom, locking the door. I lay awake until midnight when I heard a soft knock. Liam, what are you doing? Chloe whispered. Open the door. Where did you go, and why is the door locked? Why are you in there? I didn't answer, and she knocked several times, calling my name a dozen times before giving up. She obviously didn't want to wake the boys, and I heard her footsteps going down the hall toward our room. Well, what had been our room? I didn't know what it was now. I got up by 7:00 and took my clothes into the garage. I heard her alarm go off as I was getting into my car. I saw her come into the garage just as the door went down, and I drove to the park. I usually ran at the high school track, but I ran at the park that day. My phone went off a dozen times, but I ignored it. I showered and got dressed at work, borrowing my friend James' car at 1:00. I felt like I was betraying everything I believed in getting into that little sedan, but I wanted to blend in. Chloe's car was at the office, and I pulled up across the street, waiting. The windows were tinted, and no one could see me inside. At 4:00, Chloe came out and got into her Mercedes. I followed her at a discreet distance into the suburbs. When she turned into a subdivision, I knew where we were going. My brother Lucas lived there. This kind of sucked. Now I knew why the number looked familiar. I never got along well with Lucas, and we didn't talk much. The only time I saw him was at family events, and that was too often for me. I saw him put his hand on Chloe's hip 2 years ago, and I decked him. We hadn't spoken since, although his wife and Chloe spent a lot of time together. I parked across the street, and she pulled into his driveway. When she got out, she looked upset. She went inside, and I walked around to the back of the house. I had been there hundreds of times. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Lucas' wife, Sophia, was lying by the pool. This was just getting weirder and weirder. She was a stunning woman, sophisticated and elegant. She just exuded class. She looked up at me when she heard the back gate close, and a look of sheer panic crossed her face. Liam, she gasped. What are you doing here? I walked up the steps to the deck as Sophia jumped up and came running toward me. Liam, wait. Don't go in there. I need to tell you something. Wait. The screen was shut, but I could hear them talking. Chloe was very agitated, and Lucas was trying to calm her down. I'm telling you something's wrong, she said. He slept in the spare bedroom last night, and he left without saying a word this morning. This was a mistake, Lucas. I need more time to get him on board. I love my husband, and am not risking my marriage and kids over this. You can talk him into it, he told her. We've seen the way he looks at Sophia. Don't get cold feet now. We've talked about this a dozen times, and you know you want to do this. Yes, I've loved it, but I don't want to lose everything. If he has sex with Sophia, he can't say anything and we'll swap occasionally. You might as well now that you're here. I can tell you want it. Yes, but not that bad. If Liam ever found out about this, it would kill him. I'm not going to do it, Lucas. I peeked in and saw them standing in the living room. He pulled her toward him and kissed her. She resisted for a minute, then let him kiss her. I snapped a couple of pictures and a short video. He was sliding down the zipper of her dress, and she was reaching around to stop him. I had seen enough. They jumped apart when they heard the screen door collapse, and I stepped through. Chloe screamed, "No, oh my God. No, Liam. This isn't what you think. Please, I'm so sorry." I kept walking toward them, and Lucas backed away as fast as he could. I walked past them and out the front door. Chloe ran to me and threw her arms around me from behind. "Please, Liam, let's just go home. This isn't what it looks like. I promise I'll explain when we get home." I left without another word and got into Jameis' car. All three of them came out and tried to chase me down. I drove back to the office and gave the keys back to James. After 30 minutes, my phone started ringing. I ignored it. 5 minutes later, my secretary, Mia, burst in. "Your wife is on line 3, she said. "Tell her I'm not available," I said. I spent the rest of the afternoon staring at my computer screen. "Your sister-in-law is on the phone," I heard 5 minutes later. "Put her through," I said. "What do you want, Sophia?" "Liam, we need to talk about this," she said. "Why aren't you at home? You need to talk to Chloe. She can explain everything. Lucas and I will be there too. We'll talk about it like rational adults. This is your brother and your wife, Liam. You need to calm down. Why is it that when someone screws with you, they always tell you to calm down? That just pisses me off more," I said. "I don't have a brother. If Lucas is in my house when I get home, it'll tear him apart. If I see you there, it'll throw you out too. Don't ever let me see or hear from you again, Sophia. Tell Lucas that if he sees me, he better start running." I hung up. 20 minutes later, it was my dad. "Liam, what's going on?" he asked. "Your brother and Sophia are here. They say you've been threatening them." Chloe called, and she was crying hysterically. "What have you done?" "Chloe is screwing Lucas, and they were planning to trick me into wife swapping." "Dad, I don't have a brother. If I hear that you've allowed any of them in your house after today, I don't have a father. If Mom lets them in or either of you ever speak their names to me, I won't have a father or mother. You raised that jerk, and now you get to pick a side. Oh yeah, you won't have grandchildren either. You can't talk to me like that." He started to bluster, and I hung up. Mia came in and asked me something, but I didn't hear her. "Liam, I asked you a question," she said louder. "Oh sorry, Mia. What did you say? Are you okay?" she asked. Tears started running down my cheeks, and I couldn't stop them. She walked over and put her arm around my shoulders. "Did someone die?" "I'm so sorry, Liam." "Who was it?" "I think it was my marriage and my family," I told her. The whole story spilled out as I buried my face in my hands and wept. 10 years of my life flashed before my eyes, 10 wonderful years with the woman I loved and thought loved me. "Did she sleep with him?" she asked. "I think so," I said. "She was going to do it again today. She thought I was onto them and wanted to call it off." "Why would she do this, Mia? I loved her with every cell in my body. I would have died for her. How could she do this to our boys? What did they ever do to deserve this?" "Liam, go home and talk to her," she said. "Find out the answers to those questions. You'll never rest easy until you do. Get out of here." I hugged her. "Thanks, Mia. You're a good friend. Please don't tell anyone about this." She looked hurt. "Jesus, Liam, how could you say that? You know I won't tell anyone." "I apologize," I said, and she hugged me again. "I know you're upset. Just go home and try to work this out." My phone had been going off ever since I got back to the office, and it rang on the way home until I turned it off. When I pulled into the garage, Chloe came running out. She stood beside the door, and I just sat there for a minute collecting myself. She started beating on the window with her fist. "Liam, just get out and talk to me. Please, I'm begging you. Just let me talk to you." I opened the door and she tried to hug me, pushed her away. She was shocked I wasn't a violent man and had never laid an angry finger on her. "Don't touch me, Chloe," I told her. "You make me feel like I need a shower." She burst into tears. "Okay, I want." "Please, Liam, just come inside and let me talk to you." "You have until the boys get home," I told her. "When they get home, the talking is over, and we pretend that everything is fine. Do you understand?" They aren't involved, and if you upset them in any way, we're done. That's not enough time, she wept. Can we talk again after they go to bed? I don't know, I said. It depends on what you say between now and when I pick them up. You have an hour and a half. Make the best of it. I will, she promised. Please, can we just sit down? I followed her into the living room, and she sat on the sofa, patting a place beside her. I sat in the recliner across the coffee table. That made her cry again, and she put her hands over her face. I sat and waited. You're wasting time, I finally told her. She got a towel off the bar and wiped her face as she sat back down. She could hardly talk, she was crying so hard. I'm so sorry, Liam, she said. I made a huge mistake. I never thought you'd find out. I love you so much. Your love stinks like rotting tuna. You better talk about something that makes sense, I said. Don't be like that, she begged. Sounds so cheap and dirty. It is cheap and dirty, I said. There's no way to wrap it up in a ribbon. That's what you were doing. You would have done it today if I hadn't caught you. I never intended to have sex with him. It just happened. I'm so sorry, she cried harder. I don't know what I was thinking. I was wild before we got married, Liam. You know that. I met Lucas before I met you. I slept with him a few times, and after he met Sophia, we still got together occasionally. All three of us. I know you think she's hot, Liam. I thought the four of us could all be together. I thought you might enjoy it. You had a sex session set up for this afternoon, I said. No, I told them I wasn't going to do it, she wept. Yes, because you thought I knew. What if I hadn't known? I wasn't going to have sex with him, she said. It doesn't matter. You did know. How did you know? What difference does it make? I yelled. You were going to screw that jerk. Do you know what that makes you, Chloe? Please, Liam. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't think it would turn out like this. It doesn't have to be ugly. It can be fun. They'll still be with you. You can have sex with Sophia. I felt bile rise in my throat and ran to the bathroom to vomit. I heaved for a minute, and she tried to give me a washcloth and pet me. I pushed her away and rinsed my mouth. We went back and sat down. Do you hear what you just said? Can be fun. The next thing you're going to say is, it was just sex. Jesus Christ, Chloe. Do you know what a stupid cliché you've become? That makes me want to slap the hell out of you. Yes, slap me, Liam. I won't say a word. I deserve it. Punish me, do anything you want. Please just forgive me. I didn't think you'd find out. I never thought about how much this would hurt you until I thought you knew. When you left last night with the boys, I knew something was wrong. And then when you wouldn't sleep in our bed, I just knew you were hurting so badly. I knew you had found out. I wanted to tell you and apologize, but you wouldn't let me in. I got up early so I could tell you and beg you to forgive me, but you left before I had a chance. I should have waited until you came back. Please, Liam, I'm begging you. Do you still love me? Damn you, Chloe. How can you ask me that after what you did? I loved you yesterday morning and last week and for the last 10 years. That didn't stop you, did it? How in the hell do you expect me to trust you after this? How do you expect me to believe anything you say? I don't know, she wept. It'll win back your trust. It'll prove you can believe me. It'll do anything. Just tell me what you want me to do. Do you want to have sex with Sophia or someone else? I won't say anything. Please just let me earn back a chance. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. Haven't you ever made a mistake? Yes, I've made lots of mistakes. I make mistakes every day, I said. I forgot to pay the cable bill last week. I spilled paint on the garage floor. I didn't forget I was married. And neither did you. This wasn't a mistake. This was treachery. A mistake would be if you thought he was me. I don't know how to get over this, Chloe. You tell me how I get over this. I don't know, she cried. He'll do anything, though. We can get help. He'll go to counseling. He'll wear a bracelet. He'll quit my job. I'm desperate, Liam. I never wanted to hurt you. I don't want to lose the boys over this. Please give me a chance to fix this. My God, the boys, I said. I've got to go and get them. Clean up, Chloe. If you aren't under control by the time I get back, I swear to God I'll kick you out of this house. Not a hint, do you understand? Yes, I'll take a bath. It'll be good. Promise. Can we talk again after they go to bed? You can't promise me anything, Chloe. Don't you make any promises to me, I shouted. You threw away the only promise that mattered, forsaking all others. Do you remember that promise? She just collapsed. Yes, I'm so sorry, I did forget, Liam. Can we talk later? Yes, we can. I'm going now. Get your head on straight, Chloe. I was 10 minutes late to get the boys. When I pulled up at the school, I saw them sitting on a bench in front of the school with a woman sitting between them, her arms around them. She looked like she was in her mid-20s, maybe of mixed ethnicity, Hispanic and black. She looked tall and slender with the biggest, warmest brown eyes I'd ever seen, flecked with gold, and a mop of glossy curls framing her beautiful face. Her skin was a light coffee color, flawless. She smiled as I approached, and her face lit up like a lighthouse. Her teeth flashed, and she nudged the boys. They looked up and saw me coming, jumped up, and ran across the grass to hug me. You're late, Daddy, Lucas said. I'm sorry, baby, I told him. I lost track of time. It won't happen again. It's okay, Noah said. Miss Taylor stayed with us. She rose from the bench and walked over to offer her hand. Mr. Johnson, I'm Isabella Parker. I love your boys. I'm so lucky to have them in my class. Liam, I said, shaking her hand. Her long, slender fingers felt cool and soft. I realized I was holding on too long and sheepishly let go. Thank you so much for waiting with them. I'm very sorry, Miss Taylor. Call me Isabella, she said, smiling. Come on, there's a Starbucks down the street. They'll tell you a story, and you can tell me one, okay? I agreed and followed her to Starbucks. I ordered my usual triple espresso, and she got a latte with lots of foam. She took a sip and looked up at me. I couldn't help laughing. I have a mustache, don't I? She grinned. Yep, I chuckled. She cleaned it off with a napkin, her huge brown eyes holding a peculiar look. What's going on with you? Why were you driving so fast? Driving fast is like shots of whiskey for me. When I'm upset, I go for a drive or a run. Calms me down and helps me think. Why did you need a shot? I'm not trying to pry, you just look like you could use someone to talk to. Isabella, are you married? No, I was engaged once. Do you mind telling me why you're not engaged anymore? I asked. Yes, but I guess if you're unburdening to me, it would only be fair. She sipped her latte and gathered her thoughts. I can't do this, she finally said. I'm sorry, Liam. I need to go. She stood up, and I saw tears streaming down her high cheekbones. I stood up and walked over to her. I pushed her back down into the booth and slid in beside her. She protested, but I ignored her. I took one of her long, slender hands in mine. I'm very sorry, Isabella. I didn't mean to upset you. You don't have to tell me anything you don't want to. I wasn't making a bargain, I was just trying to find a place to start. It's okay if you don't. Let me out. I'm going to slide under the table. I'm sorry, Liam, but I can't do this now. It's too painful for me. I let her out. She stood up and gave me a hug. Her luscious breasts pressed against my chest, and I was as hard as an iron bar in 2 seconds. I just need to go. I'm sorry I couldn't help you. It's okay. Will you let me buy you another cup of coffee sometime? I promise I won't make you cry. Girls usually need to know me for a while before I make them cry, I joked. She gave a wet little laugh. It wasn't you. Yes, call me sometime. I love your boys, Liam. I know you're a good father. She slipped away, and her yellow Mustang chirped the tires as she pulled out. It was time to pick up the boys. We did their homework and went out to Red Lobster. They were having that endless shrimp special, and we all loved shrimp. By the time we were done, our table looked like a shrimp graveyard. The next day was the 5K event. I had planned to run, but that went on hold because Chloe wasn't going to be there, and I had agreed to work. We were at a table at the 3K marker with water and Gatorade for the runners. There was supposed to be another volunteer, but they hadn't shown up yet. I heard the car coming from a ways off but couldn't see it because of the trees. I was shocked when Isabella's yellow Mustang pulled up. She looked stunning in a pair of yellow shorts and a t-shirt that did little to hide her amazing figure. She stopped when she saw us sitting at the table. The boys squealed and ran over to hug her, then led her over. Hey, Isabella, I greeted her. How did we get this lucky? The reward of virtue, she smiled. We all chatted happily for a while until I heard a vehicle coming. It was a huge Toyota pickup, the kind guys get to advertise the size of their equipment or lack thereof. This one was massive, so the owner must have had a giant tool. The door was 5 feet off the ground. I recognized it. It belonged to the high school baseball coach, an aging high school sports hero who thought he was God's gift to the world, especially women. He had a shaved head and was about 6 feet tall, worked out, and walked with his arms nearly parallel to the ground so everyone could see how strong he was. His name was Hawk or Falcon, one of those raptor-type birds. He swaggered up to the table. "Isabella, how you doing here, honey?" "Mr. Falcon, I'm not going to tell you again not to address me by my first name. We're not friends, and if you call me honey one more time, I'm going to make a complaint that you're creating a hostile work environment." His jaw dropped. "You some kind of a dyke?" he asked angrily. "Your wife certainly didn't complain when I was licking her," Isabella said. "She thought my tongue was bigger than your meat." The boys gasped, and he actually drew his hand back. I stood up, and he got a look at me. He probably had me by 20 pounds and 10 years, but he was a bully, and bullies don't like surprises. He didn't know me, so he went back to his truck. "Boys, I'm so sorry I spoke like that," Isabella said. "That man has been pestering me ever since I came here, and I was sick of it. That's no excuse. I'm very sorry." Lucas hugged her. "That's okay, Miss Taylor. We don't like him anyway. He watches all the young girls on his track team. He's a creeper." Isabella looked at me, and we both burst out laughing. "Remind me not to piss you off," I told her. "You've got a mean streak there, Isabella." The first runners started showing up, and we were busy as bees for a while. I asked the boys if they wanted to take Isabella out for wings afterward, and they were very excited about that. She agreed to go with us, and we went home to clean up. I know this place that has some of the best wings on the planet. It was called Benny's Barbecue and was run by an old friend of mine. He was an elderly black man from Denver, and he knew how to do wings. We had a blast, and I didn't want it to end. Isabella and the boys kept my mind off of Chloe, and it felt good to just be human for a while. It couldn't last, and when I got home, I had a dozen missed calls from Chloe on my phone. I had turned it off all day, and it lit up like a Christmas tree the minute I turned it on. I got the boys in bed and called her. "Liam, I need to talk to you," she said. "Can I come over? Don't you have a date?" I asked her. "Is Lucas too busy?" She sobbed. "Please just let me come over, Liam. I can explain." "Okay, come on," I said. I ended the call, and 30 minutes later, I heard her key in the door. I thought mean thoughts about changing the locks when she came in. She looked like a wreck. She tried to hug me, but I put out my hand and fended her off. "Chloe, I swear to God, if you touch me, I'm going to puke on you," I told her. She started crying immediately and went over to sit down. "Can I just talk to you?" She wept. "Let me just get it out." I sat across the table from her again. She stared at the floor. "I know what Sophie said." Her voice was so quiet I could hardly hear her. "So, you decided to come clean?" I asked. "Yes. I didn't want to tell you before because I thought you'd hate me. Sophie caught me, Liam. She threatened to tell you if I didn't. I told her I would, but I couldn't. You were so happy, and I couldn't bear to think about how it would make you feel. It was just no, I won't say it. I was drunk. We were at the boys' Christmas party at school one night. The kids had all gone home and you went with them. We started drinking. You know how it is at those school things. Even Father Oliver was tipsy. Lucas and Sophia were there. I just started to talk to him. He kept telling me how hot I was. Do you know how long it's been since anyone besides you told me that? I feel like I'm getting old, Liam. My boobs are sagging a little, and my butt isn't quite as firm as it used to be. I grow hair in unusual places, and I don't think I'm as pretty as I used to be. Do you know how many men have hit on me over the years? I liked for men to think I'm hot. I danced with them, and they tried to feel me up. I would let them sometimes. I always knew that at the end of the night, I was going home to you, and you were going to have sex with me until I walked funny. It just made me feel good to know that men wanted in my pants. They were never going to get there, but it made me feel good knowing they wanted to. Barbara Jensen was there. You remember her. She was a freshman when we were seniors. She was a pretty little blonde thing that always thought she was something special. She married one of the teachers at the boys' school. She said something to me about looking old. I was drunk, and it really hurt my feelings. Then Lucas came over and asked me if I wanted to dance. He was as charming and handsome as ever and kept telling me how hot I was. He kept telling me how good it was back in school. I was drunk as hell and let him talk me into going outside on the porch in the back. It was so stupid, but I was just feeling very vulnerable. I gave him a blowjob, Liam. I'm so sorry. I felt disgusted with myself after I did it. I just couldn't believe I was the kind of person that would do something like that. I let him feel me up, and I gave him a blowjob. I didn't have sex with him, Liam. I just wanted to pay that which back by showing her I could take a hunky man if I wanted to. I'm so sorry. Sophie came out on the porch with her date and caught me. She threatened to tell you. She called me all sorts of names and told me I was nuts for messing around on you. She said if I told you, she wouldn't mention it. I couldn't tell you. I was so ashamed and so afraid that you would leave me. I told her that I told you, and you had forgiven me. I wish I had told you. That's when it all started again. I screwed up, Liam. I'm a stupid witch and I messed up. I'm very sorry. I hate myself, and if I've made you hate me, I don't know how I'll live with myself. I've never loved anyone but you, and I never will. Please, Liam, don't hate me. Please forgive me. I swear to God that if you let me make this up to you, I'll work like a slave to do it. I'll do anything you say. Please don't leave me. Please don't take my boys away from me. What can I do? I'll do anything. I know now that you'll never accept it. Chloe, I don't know what you can do, I said. I haven't had time to decide what I'm going to do. How can I trust you? You've lied to me several times. You told me you were working late when you were really shaking your butt and screwing Lucas. What if I forgive you, and one day you have to work late? What am I supposed to think? How will I keep from wondering if you're screwing some guy or giving him a blowjob? How does that work? She was crying uncontrollably. I don't know, Liam. I only know I love you and the boys. I see what I've done. I see how my stupidity has damaged us and our family. I don't want sex anymore with anyone besides you, Liam. I've just been insane. You're an amazing lover, but I just got so horny thinking about what we did back then. It should be easy for me. I've got the message. What do you want to do? Do you still love me? That's the problem, Chloe. I do still love you. I'm just not sure you ever loved me. I'm not sure I believe you about anything. No, I'm sure I don't. I have to assume everything you tell me is a lie. Are you coming clean with me here? You'll never know, and I don't think you'll ever believe anything you tell me. Erase your chance. If you're hiding something, you should tell me now. It won't make any difference. I couldn't possibly be any angrier with you than I am right now. This is your one chance. I swear to God I'm being honest, she said. There isn't anything else. I love you, Liam. I don't love anyone else, and I never have. Don't say it, Chloe. You were going to cheat, and you did cheat. It wasn't. No, okay, I know you don't want to hear it. I just want you to understand it didn't mean anything to me. I'm not in love with Lucas and Sophia. It was just exciting sex. I thought you might like to join us. I can see now that you never would, and it was a mistake. Well, it sure as hell meant something to me, I told her. The fact that it didn't mean anything to you is the problem. If I screwed some stranger, would that mean anything to you? It's not the same thing, she said. We were going to include you. You were going to get to have sex with Sophia. She's hot for you, Liam. It's exactly the same thing, I told her. Screw this. If you're going to try to slide around and evade responsibility and minimize what you've done, this isn't going to work. I'm going to see a lawyer tomorrow, Chloe. I suggest you do the same. What? She asked. Why do I need to see a lawyer? When I file for divorce, you'll need one, I told her. She gave a little screech and collapsed. I didn't say anything, and she wept for about 5 minutes before she could speak. I don't want a divorce, she sobbed. Please, Liam, why do you want a divorce? I told you I'd do anything. You won't even step up and accept how badly you messed up. I told her. You're trying to make excuses and minimize your cheating like it wasn't anything. No, I'm not, she protested. I see how badly this has hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to get you to understand that I love only you. They didn't mean anything to me. You're my man. So you were willing to screw me over for people that didn't mean anything to you? Is that supposed to reassure me? I asked. I don't know what I'm saying. She wept. They'll say anything you want me to. I'm just trying to say something to get another chance, to get you to forgive me. Tell me what you want me to say. How about, I'm sorry, Liam. I screwed up and it will never happen again. Yes, I am sorry. I screwed up and I won't do it again. Can I please come back home? Liam? I'm dying without you. It's killing me that I can't be around the boys. They'll do anything. They'll sleep in the spare bedroom. They'll be your slave. They'll cook and clean, and you can use me any way you want to. You can have girlfriends or whatever you need to get over this. I actually might, I told her. Do you know that I met someone? I'm very interested in her. I was afraid of that, she said. Go on a date with her. Bring her over here and he'll cook for you. I'm as serious as I can be, Liam. He'll do anything to be part of your life. He'll serve the dinner and treat her nice if that's what you want. I just want to live with you and the boys. If you want to have sex with me, well, just be sex buddies. Just give me a chance to win you back. He'll never have another man for as long as I live. If you need to get revenge or punish me, I know I deserve it. He'll take my lumps and never complain. Just give me a chance. Let me think about it, I told her. I'll call you tomorrow and let you know what I decide. Don't say one word to the boys. Okay? No, I won't. He'll do anything you say. Thank you for talking to me, Liam. I know I don't even deserve that. You're a good man, and I'm taking advantage of you. I'm sorry, but I can't help it. I'm dying inside being apart from my family. Maybe you should have thought of that. No, forget that. I won't beat you up. I need you to talk to some people, Chloe. Pastors or counselors or something. I don't think you have the right moral compass. Will you do that? Yes, I'll do anything, she said. She left and I lay awake most of the night thinking. I didn't want her back. The idea that she couldn't take what she had done seriously, that it didn't mean anything to her, messed with my head. How could I take her back when she didn't even see anything wrong with what she did? The only thing she regretted was hurting me and nearly losing her family. That was so messed up on so many levels. I didn't know where to start. The problem was the boys. How could I destroy my babies' lives by kicking their mother to the curb? I drifted off to sleep, still confused about what I should do. I got some clarity in the morning. The boys loved their mother, and she was a wonderful mom. They didn't deserve any of this, and I needed to make their lives as good as possible. I was certain that living with a cheating wife wasn't good for them. I called into work and got the day off. When the boys got up, I told them I was taking them out of school so we could talk. It was the most difficult talk of my life. I didn't tell them that their mother was a cheating wife. I just told them that we had some issues that we needed to work out. She wouldn't be living with us, and we were trying to work on our problems. They cried like someone had died. At first, they accused me of ruining everything, but when I told them I hadn't done anything, they figured it out. Did Mom do something bad? Noah asked. Daddy, did she cheat on you? I'm not going to tell you anything bad about your mother, I told them. She loves you very much, and you shouldn't blame her for anything. This has nothing to do with you boys. You're the best boys I could ever imagine, and we both love you with all our hearts. Just give me a chance to work this out, okay? They reluctantly agreed, and we talked for a long time. I called Chloe and met her for lunch. She was distraught when I told her I needed some space. I get angry every time I look at you, Chloe. I told her. You need to stay away from me. I've decided that I can never forget what you did. You may have cost me any relationship I have with any of my family. I'm divorcing you, Chloe. I'll let you see the boys anytime you want to. We have a prenuptial agreement that if either of us ever cheated, the innocent party keeps the house. You won't be hurting for money. I'll make sure of that. Now the witch came out to play. She called me every name in the book, promised to turn the boys against me, and clean me out in court. I wished her well and walked away. Isabella called me after school and was worried about the boys. She noticed they weren't at school and was very concerned. I promised her they were okay, and she asked if she could come over Saturday and talk to me. There was a car event on Saturday, and I planned to drive in it. I asked her to go, and she agreed. Chloe picked up the boys in the morning, and I went to pick up Isabella. She was as gorgeous as ever, wearing the tightest jeans I had ever seen. The sway of her hips made it hard for me to speak. We had a 50-mile drive and we talked a lot. She finally broke down and told me her story. She had been engaged to a businessman in her hometown. They met in high school and fell in love. She thought she was so happy that she must have missed some obvious signs because she caught her fiancé in the cloakroom with one of her bridesmaids at the wedding. She left without saying a word to anyone and just drove away. She never contacted anyone in her hometown again. She wound up in our town and got a job teaching at the boys' school. She was obviously upset, and the memory was still fresh and painful. I knew exactly how she felt. I told her what was going on with Chloe and me. Her eyes were filled with tears when I finished, and mine were a little misty too. She leaned over and put her head on my shoulder. Her hair was a big mop of curls that stuck up every which way. It was the sexiest thing I had ever seen. My phone buzzed after we got to the show. It was my mom. "Liam, we need to sit down and talk. I'm calling a family meeting. Lucas and Sophia are driving down, and we'll meet here at the house." "Is Lucas going to be there?" I asked. "Your brother has some things he needs to tell you. I told you what was going to happen. Don't call me again." "Liam, don't be like that," she begged. "Okay, he won't be there. Will you come?" "Hold on a minute," I told her. Isabella was trying to get my attention. "Talk to them, Liam. It's the only way to move on." "Have you talked to your family?" I asked her. She grinned ruefully. "No, but I know I should, and so should you." "Okay, Mom. When is this meeting?" I asked. "Dinner tonight at 6. "No dinner. They'll be there at 7:30. I ended the call. I had a good time with Isabella. She held my hand while we checked out the cars. We talked a lot on the way home, and I asked if she would come over afterwards so I could fill her in. She promised, and I dropped her off at her place. I was dreading the hell out of this. I went home to my empty house and tried to eat a little. It just made my stomach upset, and I took a couple of antacids. I got the old charger out and fired it up. It just felt right, and that rumble soothed my nerves. I'm sure they heard me coming a block away, and Mom came to the door before I got there. She hugged me, and I just stood there stiff as a post. When she looked up at me, there were tears in her eyes. She didn't say anything. She just took my hand and led me inside. I heard the lock click behind me, and Dad was standing in front of the door with a baseball bat. "We're not going to let you tear this family apart with your stubborn pride. Go and sit your butt down." Well, this was going to be interesting. My sisters, Laura and Helen, took my arms and I sat between them. Then out of Mom's bedroom marched the three cheaters. I looked over at Mom. "He's your brother, she's your wife, and Sophia's your sister-in-law. We can get past this, okay? Mom, you just lost your son and your only 2 grandsons. He's a jerk, not my brother. His wife is a bisexual witch, and that's the cheater. I guess that makes you Mama Cheater. That's the pimp over there by the door. And what are you two?" I asked my sisters. "We just love you, Liam," Laura said. "We're down with whatever you want. I want to leave. You want to come and stay with me tonight? I want to introduce you to someone." "Girls, I thought you were going to help." Mama Cheater started to panic. "Yes, we're going to help," Helen said. "What, you thought we were here to help these scumbags?" We stood up together and walked toward the door. The pimp made a motion with his bat, and I kicked him in the nuts. He dropped his bat and sank to the floor, making a little wheezing scream. I picked up the bat and turned around. Lucas saw death in my eyes and took off running through the kitchen and out the back door. I turned to Sophia. Her eyes went wide, and she started scrambling to follow her jerk husband. I threw back my head and laughed. "I'm filing charges against you for unlawful imprisonment," I told Mama Cheater. "Don't call, don't write, don't send cards, and don't attempt to contact the boys. I'm getting a restraining order against all of you." She sank to her knees, weeping hysterically. "Please, Liam, don't do that. I'm sorry. They'll make it up to you." "Too late," I told her. "You had your chance. You picked a side. Good luck with the rest of your life. Too bad you're going to spend it with people who cheat on their spouses. The restraining order is going to be for you too," I told the cheater. "You're mentally unstable, and he'll never leave the boys alone with you again." Helen went upstairs and got the boys. They looked at everyone oddly but didn't say anything. The cheater was crying hysterically. We walked down the driveway. You want to drive? I asked Laura. I tossed her the keys. She squealed in excitement. Really, Liam? I always wanted to, but you never would let me. You made the right choice, I told them. I love my little sisters. I let them drive my cars. We got Chinese takeout on the way home, and Helen took a turn trying to break our necks. I called Isabella on the way home, and we got food for her too. The boys went flying across the room when she came in and threw themselves on her. They each took a hand and led her over to their aunts. This is our teacher, Miss Taylor. Lucas introduced her. I think she's Daddy's girlfriend too. Isabella was blushing furiously and just looked adorable. Lucas, we're just friends. You shouldn't say things like that. Well, since Mom cheated, we want you to be with Daddy, Noah told her. Boys, that's enough, I scolded them. You're embarrassing our guest. Off to bed with you. Sorry, Daddy, they said softly, and Helen and Laura took them upstairs to read their book. Isabella and I were left in awkward silence. I walked toward her, and she looked a little frightened. I took her hands and pulled her in for a hug. Her curls tickled my chin, and she melted against me. How about it, Isabella? I murmured. Want to be my girlfriend? She tilted her head up to look in my eyes. Those huge brown eyes were full of golden glitter. I might, she whispered. Kiss me and then I'll decide. Her lips were the softest, sexiest pillows I'd ever felt. A little pointed tongue tapped my lips, and I let it in. I swear to God, I nearly came in my pants when I felt that. Her luscious body was pressed tightly against mine, and she made a little moaning sigh that made me crazy. She pushed back a little and looked at me, evaluating my emotions. Evidently, she liked what she saw because she let me pull her in again, burying her face in my shoulder. I won't be with you until you're not with her, she told me. I understand, I told her. I'm not her, Isabella. I won't become her either. It's going to take a while to resolve all this. I've got the rest of my life, she said. She kissed me again and made my toes curl before I walked her out to the car. I went to see a lawyer the next morning. Her name was Marcy Gray, and she was very rude. I think at first, she thought I was dumping my wife for an upgrade. She was about 40, very curvy and pretty too. I wanted her to like me, but we got off on the wrong foot. If you're here to get out of paying child support or alimony, you need a different attorney, were the first words out of her mouth. That pissed me off. Okay, that's not why I'm here, but thanks for seeing me. I got up and walked out. I stopped at her secretary's desk and asked how much the appointment was. She opened her mouth, and Miss Gray cut her off. What the hell is the matter with you? She yelled. You can't just walk off like that. Watch me, I told her. I don't know who the hell you think you are, lady, but you can bite me. I don't have to listen to insults, especially not from people I employ. Screw off. She swelled up like a toad frog. She opened her mouth, then started laughing. She laughed until she cried and came to get me by the arm. I'm sorry. She was wiping the tears of mirth away. Sometimes I forget that there are decent men in the world. I see so many jerks every day that I forget. Nobody has talked to me like that for years. Please accept my apology. Come back and talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Despite my misgivings, I let her lead me back into her office, and she poured me a very good scotch. I told her the story, and she got rude all over again, but it was directed mostly against my ex-family and the cheater. She buzzed the secretary and got her to bring in forms. I paid her a retainer and signed my name 10,000 times. She promised to get the restraining order that afternoon and start the divorce as soon as possible. She shook my hand, and the ball started rolling. In 3 days, the cheater was served, and my ex-family was charged with unlawful restraint and terroristic threats. The pimp even got charged with attempted assault for his actions with the baseball bat. Lucas and Sophia were served for inflicting intentional emotional distress, and life looked good. The boys were with me, and the cheater was forbidden to come within 500 feet of us. When I came out to get the paper Saturday morning, she was standing at the end of the block. She saw me and yelled, "Liam, please let me see my boys. Please, I'm so sorry. It wasn't my idea. Please, I'm begging you. Let me see my boys." A couple of neighbors came outside to see what all the yelling was about. I walked down to where she was, and she fell on her knees in front of me. Please, Liam, I'm begging. They'll crawl up to the house if you want me to. Please let me see the boys. Get up, Chloe, I told her. You're embarrassing yourself and me. I don't care about me, she said. I know I've lost you, Liam. I can't lose my boys. I won't embarrass you anymore. Please, just for 5 minutes, let me see them. She clung to me, and I lifted her to her feet. Okay, you can see them, I told her. Chloe, I told you that you could see them anytime you wanted to. Then you went and pulled that crap at my parents' house. I swear to God, one more insane moment like that and you're done. Do you understand? Yes, I do, and I won't do anything crazy. Thank you, Liam. They'll be good. We walked back to the house, and the boys were eating waffles. They flew to her, and she knelt down, hugging them like life preservers in a hurricane. She was sobbing her heart out and telling them over and over how sorry she was and how much she loved them. They cried a little too and told her how much they missed her. I fixed her some breakfast, and we all sat around the bar and ate. She promised them and me that she would be their mom just like before, but she wouldn't be living with us. I think they understood and agreed to stay with her every other weekend. I told her she could come over any time during the week she wanted. They went off to watch TV and we sat and talked for a while. Liam, she began, I'm so sorry for what happened at your parents' house. I didn't want to do it, but your mom said we could fix everything. I realize that's not possible now. I know I've hurt you too badly, but I'm sane now, and I just want however much relationship you will give me. I want to be friends, okay? I want more than that, but I realize it isn't going to happen. It'll just be the best friend you ever had. It'll be the boys' mom, and we'll move on with our lives. They'll sign the divorce papers and I won't fight it. The financial stuff is fine. I'm going to move into one of our apartments. There's a vacancy next week, and it's a nice one. Can we be friends and co-parents? Liam? We'll have to work on the friends part, I told her. Most of my friends don't know, never mind. They'll try, Chloe, honestly, I will. I just have a lot of bad feelings toward you right now. I'm sure time will heal a lot of that and we'll get along just fine. Just so you know, I'm not getting back together with you, Chloe. If you've really given that up, then I'm sure we'll be fine. The first time you go on a date, come and tell me about it, and then I'll believe you about moving on. We'll start working on being friends then. Okay. There were tears in her eyes, but she nodded and hugged me. I felt sorry for her, but it wasn't on me. I offered to take her home, but she told me she was parked down the street. At the door, she turned and looked back. I'm sorry, she said. I know, I told her. Me too. Don't keep apologizing, Chloe. I believe you. Let's just move on. I forgive you. I'm still mad, but I'll get over it. Okay? She smiled and nodded. Then she was gone. She came over Monday and Wednesday, and on Friday, I let the boys go out to eat with her. We seemed to be settling into a routine, and things were looking up. Marcy Gray called me the next week and said the lawyer for my ex-family wanted to set up a meeting. I declined, but she said it was in everyone's best interests, so I went. My only condition was that Lucas not be there. Everyone agreed, and we sat around Marcy's conference table. They were all very penitent and full of remorse. They wanted me to drop the charges against them and were willing to do nearly anything to make that happen. I told them that if they signed agreements to never contact or speak to me again, to agree to never speak to or contact the boys again, and that if the pimp would let me kick him in the nuts again, I would drop the charges except the ones against Lucas. Marcy got quite a kick pun intended out of that, and they agreed to all the conditions except the last one. Sophia and Mom agreed, but for some reason, the pimp was reluctant. I guess he needed to be holding a baseball bat to feel comfortable having his scrotum crushed. Mom threatened to kick him herself, and he finally agreed. Marcy was choking, and I told him I wasn't going to do it right away, but he should be ready. They signed the papers and fled. As soon as the door closed, Marcy burst into an insane fit of giggling. I told her a woman with her breast size shouldn't giggle like that, and she ran off to the bathroom. When she came back, she was composed until she saw me, and that set her off again. Liam, you're such an idiot, she gasped. You nearly made me pee my pants. You know I couldn't put that in the papers, right? I chuckled. Well, yes, but I love the thought of them worrying about whether today is the day I'm coming to collect. You're a hard-skinned dude. She finally settled down. Are you going to stick to this? You have no idea what I put up with from Lucas over the years, I told her. He stole my toys, caused me more trouble than you can ever believe, and it was all okay with him because he was the baby. Jesus Christ, Marcy, he screwed my wife and they were okay with that. It was my stubborn pride that was the problem. I'm done with them. I hope they all die lonely and in misery. I don't guess I blame you, she said. The divorce is final in 60 days. What are you going to do then? Move on, I told her. I've got a couple of plans. I even have a few plans for Lucas. She looked askance at me. You aren't going to need a criminal defense lawyer, are you? God, I hope not, I said. Are you any good? I practice family law, she said. They'll bail you out, but I'd have to recommend a colleague if you're charged with a crime. I didn't expect to be charged. Lucas was coming out of a bar one night when 3 masked men jumped him and dragged him into an alley. They beat the hell out of him, paying special attention to his genital area. The police report said they kept asking him a question over and over, and he couldn't understand it. It was, "What's the frequency, Kenneth?" I guess they thought he was Dan rather. He said he didn't know any Kenneth, and he had no idea who they were or what the frequency might be. I was with Isabella and the boys at the time, and I was never questioned. After he got out of the hospital, he was at home while Sophia was out of town, and there was a home invasion. He was beaten again by 4 guys. This time, the question was different. They kept asking him why he wasn't wearing the regulation socks. He had no idea what the regulation socks were supposed to be, so they played ping-pong with his balls. I was out on a date with Isabella. A month later, he was ambushed in the parking garage at work. He was unable to determine the number of his assailants, but they inquired about the frequency and disapproved of his sock choice again. His manhood was victimized by being wrapped in duct tape and used as a hair removal device. He wouldn't need waxing for a while. I was at the twins' soccer game with Chloe. The police questioned me that time. It seems that targeting the genitals is a favorite pastime of jealous husbands, but I had airtight alibis for all the attacks. 2 months later, his car developed problems 3 times a week for 2 weeks. When he came out of work, it had a flat tire. There were mysterious holes in the sidewalls, possibly about the size of an ice pick. Security began to watch it, and it recovered its ability to hold air in its tires at work. But when he went into stores or bars or left it alone for a minute, the malady recurred. Injector problems sidelined it for a while due to the presence of naphthalene in his fuel. The repairman said it was most likely caused by the mothballs in the gas tank. How they got there remained a mystery. His barbecue grill exploded when he was trying to light it a month later. There was a gas leak and he was missing his eyebrows and lashes, as well as the front of his comb-over for a while. This run of ill fortune continued until the culmination of the airbag in his car deploying unexpectedly and causing him to collide with a tree. Of course, the airbag had deflated by that time, and he was injured in the crash and back in the hospital. Sophia decided that his bad luck might begin to affect her and filed for divorce. He was afraid to step outside his door and took a job in Cleveland selling tires. My life was going great. The divorce went through smoothly, and I was a free man. Isabella and Chloe walked around each other like 2 tomcats for about a month. But one day, Chloe asked her out for drinks and dancing. Chloe had a date and told Isabella to tell me about him. He was an accountant, and Isabella said his name was Bob. She thought he seemed like a nice guy and was pretty good-looking too. The boys got along pretty well, and the tension eased around the house when they were there at the same time. After the date, I started asking Chloe to lunch about once a week, and we started being pretty good friends again. We talked about the boys and how work was going, and I remembered how much I just liked talking to her. She seemed to be doing well, and she told me she really liked Bob. We didn't talk about the past much, and that was good. The Saturday after the divorce was final, Chloe had the boys, and I took Isabella out. We drove up to the mountains and went to a big local celebration. We walked around, looked at the crafts, ate some local food, and rode a few carnival rides. I took her dancing that night, and when we were feeling pretty good, we left. When I dropped her off, she invited me in, and I didn't hesitate. We made wild love that night. In the morning, I saw her looking at me. She tilted her head up to look at me. "Liam, I'm in love with you," she murmured. "Do you love me?" "More than you can imagine," I told her. I thought I'd never be happy again. Isabella, I was wrong. My boys make me happy, and you make me happy. I do love you. I think I'm the luckiest guy alive. We should send Lucas a thank you card, she laughed. Well, I wouldn't go so far as that, but I'm happy here with you too. We whispered things that meant nothing and everything until we drifted off to sleep with that gorgeous woman in my arms. After 2 months, she moved in with me, and the boys rode to school with her every day. After 5 months, I knew I couldn't live without her and bought her a ring. I told the boys I was going to ask her to marry me, and I couldn't believe how excited they were. She was their idol, and they worshipped at her altar. I called Chloe. She wasn't thrilled but said she wanted me to be happy. I found out that Bob had popped the question to her, and she had him on hold. She said she was going to say yes, and I wished her well. I hoped she had learned something from her experience, and Bob wasn't going to go through what I had. I didn't say any of that. I took Isabella out to a nice Italian place and popped the question with the ring. She squealed, and there was never any question. When we got home, the boys were waiting up and all over us. Can we call you Mother? Lucas asked her. We already have a mom, but we decided we want to call you Mother. Isabella dropped to her knees and squeezed them close. Thank you, boys. It would be an honor to me. I've loved you since the day I met you. You'll always be my little boys. I'm not trying to take your mom's place, but I would be proud for 2 angels like you to call me Mother. We got married, and a year in, I loved her more every day. I've never been happier, and she's still a sex goddess in bed. Chloe married Bob, and they have a baby boy. I've never heard from my ex-family, and I don't expect I ever will. My sisters mention them sometimes, but they don't have much to do with them either. Sometimes you just have to live with your choices. They made theirs, and I made mine. The worst day of my life was pretty bad, but I have the feeling the best days are still ahead. Isabella is going to make sure of that. Thanks for watching. How would you react if you found out your spouse was cheating with someone close to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more shocking stories. See you next time.